Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar hosted by the IPM Institute, which will focus on the ways that watershed organizations are engaging ag retailers in nutrient management solutions. My name is Jane Petzel, and I am the Water Resources Management Project Coordinator at the IPM Institute. My colleagues on the webinar today include Mark Adelsberger, Resource Management Specialist, and Dr. Thomas Green, co-founder and president of the IPM Institute. We are also joined by Cindy Brookes, watershed coordinator of the Sandusky River Watershed Coalition, who will share her experiences working with ag retailers in her watershed. After that, Carley Kratz, the program director of the River Raisin Watershed Council, will talk about her work that her organization is doing to engage ag retailers in nutrient management solutions. Finally, we will hear the ag retailer perspective from Logan Haake, Precision Agronomy Manager at Legacy Farmers Cooperative. Before we get started, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping rules. The audience members will remain muted during most of the presentations, but please make use of the question pane on your screen to type questions at any time throughout. We will have time at the end of each presentation to address questions. If you would like to speak during the question and answer portion of the webinar, please use the hand raise feature in the toolbar and I will unmute your microphone. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Tom Green, who is going to give some additional background on our programs here at the IPM Institute.
Thanks, Jane. How's my volume?
You sound good to me.
Great, thanks. So let's move to slide 2. And just to introduce our organization, we're a staff of about 16 people working on a number of different projects. And our focus is really leveraging the power of the marketplace to improve health, environment, and economics in agriculture and in communities. And we have projects with Cisco, the food distributor, Whole Foods, McDonald's, potato supply chain, all focused on using IPM and other best practices in these supply chains to improve outcomes that we all care about. On the non-ag side of things, we also work with pest control companies through our Green Shield Certified program, where we do on-site evaluations of their performance and certify them if they meet our standards. And we also work with school systems on their programs to help them reduce pest problems and pesticide use in schools. So next slide. So today we wanted to just brief you on a project that we've been working on with Cindy and others since 2010 with funding from the Great Lakes Protection Fund, Ohio NRCS, and the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And our focus there is working with ag retailers on how they can play a more important role in reducing phosphorus losses from cropland. So we started out identifying products and services that ag retailers can sell and earn revenue from that help contribute to the solution. And those are things like cover crop seeds, soil testing, precision soil sampling, and variable rate application. And then also there are a number of things that ag retailers can do that aren't revenue opportunities, but don't cost them a whole lot and have some benefits to them as well. One example is just notifying farmers of things that are going on in their fields that the farmer may not be aware of. So as the fertilizer applicator is driving over the field and sees a tile blow out, contacting the farmer to let them know that that's something that needs to get fixed, and will also reduce the chance that the ag retailer's equipment might get damaged. So next slide. So then what we've done is put together some resources to help ag retailers have conversations about these products and services with their farmer clients. So as we'll see from some survey data that we have, adoption of these products and services is low and growing. And so what we've worked on is putting together some tools like this wallet card that you see in the bottom left, the two sides of a wallet card that ag-retailers can hand out to their farmers that talk about the risk of phosphorus loss and how to identify fields that may be of particularly high risk of loss and what to do on those fields to reduce losses. We also have a series of fact sheets that are specifically focused on that conversation between the sales agronomist and the farmer on cover crops and variable rate application and custom application and incorporating nutrients into the soil. Next slide. And I think I'll turn it over to Mark Adelsberger, who's working on the project in the Sandusky watershed, and he's been working with the retailers to track the number of acres of these products and services that they have out there.
Thank you, Tom. And I just wanted to mention that those wallet cards that Tom had mentioned on the previous slide, we still have some of those available. We've distributed well over 6,000 of those to retailers, watershed organizations, NRCS soil and water offices. So those are available if anybody would like any of those to use at meetings or just hand out to customers. One thing we've been doing in the Sandusky for the last 3 years, we've been tracking some of the most commonly used practices and services that retailers offer. And you can see by the charts here, we started in 2011 and 12. The information was gathered in 2012, 13, and 14. In 2014, the information was gathered just before the Toledo water crisis happened. So, you know, I'm very confident that there's going to be a lot of those practices that are going to shoot up, especially cover crops, just due to a lot of money came out and is going to be distributed to farmers for putting cover crops out. So we'll probably see that 2014 numbers shoot through the roof. And you know, whether the programs last again into next year or not, we'll see where that stays up or comes back down. Next slide, please. And we have put together, along with the help of Heidelberg National Water Quality Lab, put together a calculator that is making projections as far as reaching our target loads for the Sandusky River. And you can see where we're tracking that right now for average growth. And if we continue on the same path.
Hey, Mark, I'm having a little trouble hearing the audio right now.
Can you hear me better now?
That's much better, thank you.
We've been tracking and estimating loading with the calculator that was developed with Heidelberg, and we're on a trend line right now for on average growth to reach our goals by 2022, which we all know that's it needs to come a whole lot faster than that. So we've got a job to do to get the message out and start working on some different practices to make it happen well before 2022. Next slide, Jane. And another objective, the concept of disproportionality. When one group overshadows another group in a disproportionate fashion, it makes everyone look bad. And the concept is that, you know, the majority of the growers out there are trying to do the right thing and make the difference, but the 20% of the growers that are not overshadow or cancel out, if you will, the impacts that 80% is doing. And I've got some good examples of, you know, soil test readings of, you know, 800 to 1,000 parts per million that are way above and beyond where they should be. And that, you know, the thought is how many growers doing the right thing does that cancel out or you know, negate what the good guys are doing, if you will. The next slide, Gene. some of the things that IPM has been working on to try and get the word out and get more involvement with NRCS and EQIP. In February, we had a 2-day training session. It was a streamlined training session for CCAs to become technical service providers for NRCS programs. And the first day was put on by NRCS, Ohio NRCS, and they covered conservation planning and nutrient management. The second day was put on by OSU Extension, which got into more aspects of the manure management software, MMP. We had 43 participants come and go through the training.
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt again. Your audio is fading out a little bit.
There's nothing I can do on my end, unless
All right.
someone else wants to pick it up. There's nothing else I can adjust. Tom, do you want to pick it up?
Looks like Tom is self-muted.
Okay, here I am. Thanks, Mark. So as Mark was mentioning, one of our objectives is to increase participation in NRCS programs for nutrient management. And this past winter, we had the first streamlined training for technical service providers. It was held in Ohio. NRCS presented half of the training on qualifying these certified crop advisors to become TSPs, and then Oregon State did the second day of training and trained people on how to use software to get plans done. So we exceeded our goals for the event and had 43 certified crop advisors participate, and 31 of them have gone on to become qualified to write NRCS plans for growers who have contracts with NRCS to provide the funding. And since then, we've been working with those TSPs to provide them with support materials, including a sample conservation activity plan, which is a new offering from NRCS over the past couple of years that has not had a whole lot of take-up yet, but it offers a substantial payment to the farmer to get these plans done, and then helps elevate their ranking for implementation contracts. If they have a conservation activity plan in hand, they're more likely to get their applications for nutrient management implementation or other structural improvements approved by NRCS. So next slide. And then finally, one of our objectives was to engage non-operator landowners. So much of the cropland in the Western Lake Erie Basin and in the U.S. Is owned by individuals who are not farmers. So they may have inherited land from their parents who farmed, and they lease the land out to farmers. And what we did was we worked with Agrin, a company based in Iowa, to identify those non-operator landowners, and then got feedback on that list from Soil and Water Conservation Districts and from Cindy at the Coalition to clean that up. And then we did a series of 11 mailings to those landowners to try to engage them in solutions, help them make increase awareness of the problems. And we had 36 survey responses and 331 requests for additional information as a result of the campaign. And of those respondents, 88% indicated they were at least moderately concerned about water quality in the Great Lakes. And we've had some follow-up from individuals as well, including becoming members of the coalition.
And Tom, I want to interrupt. I just came back in. A couple other things I wanted to share. Of the surveys we just received back, 39% of the respondents actually said that they did have a conversation with their tenants or their farmers that were farming the ground for them. They did have conversations about water quality and what they were doing to help some of the issues. And also those surveyed, 14% said they did apply for technical or financial assistance programs of some sort. So we are seeing a trend. We're seeing some people actually getting involved and taking action. So our hopes are and our thoughts are that these mailings did make a difference and help get the word out. And it's just a matter of keeping things in front of the people and telling them, giving them information that's useful to them, giving them resources and places they can get more information.
Great, thanks, Mark. And I think this is our last slide, Jane. And it's just a thanks to all of our collaborators and funders.
Thanks, Mark and Tom. And I'll ask anyone who has questions on the information IPM Institute has presented, you can type it into the question pane, but we will address them at the end. For now, we need to move on to our next speaker. We have Carley Kratz, the River Raisin Watershed Council. Let's see. Carley,
hello,
you should
everyone.
be unmuted. Yep.
Hi. This is Carley Kratz. I'm the Program Director of the River Raisin Watershed Council. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our efforts to engage partners of ag and nutrient management solutions. Next slide, please. First, a little bit about our watershed. We're located in southeastern Michigan. We are a major contributor to the western Lake Erie Basin nutrient loads. In part, that's because over 70% of the land area in the watershed is actually in agricultural production. There's both small farms and large farms. Mostly have row crops with the corn, soybean, and wheat rotations, and also some livestock operations. Next slide, please. The Watershed Council plays a very unique role when we talk about working with partners of ag. Farmers are often seeking out other organizations for information, such as the NRCS or the local conservation districts or Farm Bureau. But some of our farmers are also really intimately engaged with the Watershed Council, so we try to bridge those gaps and help disseminate information about water quality and farming to the whole watershed community. I can't stress enough, our partnerships are extremely important. We do a lot of behind-the-scenes work to help network, organize events, and also produce informational brochures and websites. Next slide. Some of those partners that we have, of course, the local conservation districts. A lot of the events I'll talk about briefly here today are put on by our county conservation districts. They do a wonderful job. Also, the NRCS, Michigan State University Extension, and the Farm Bureau and Greenstone Farm Credit Service help to fund a lot of our events. Next slide. I wanted to talk briefly about the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program, our MEAP. It verifies farms as environmentally friendly, not only by showing them what the state and federal laws are and how they can best follow them, but working on improving even on those state laws to get more water conservation practices implemented on the farms. The MEAP program can lead farmers towards writing detailed nutrient management plans, using cover crops, and installing other conservation practices that they may not have considered before. The Watershed Council works really closely with MEAP technicians from the county conservation districts to get the word out about MEAP through outreach and education. Next slide, please. One event that we do in partnership with the conservation district is tall ship sails. This is both on Lake Erie, the Detroit River, the Maumee Bay. There's lots of different locations. But the goal is to bring farmers from the fields to the waters of the Great Lakes. We have many of these sessions offered each year, and there are educational presentations offered on the boats to talk about nutrient management and also talk about the algal blooms, which are often visible from the boat. And we have had ag retailer representatives attend these events. Next slide, please. We also have an experiential learning experience via Stone Lab tours on Lake Erie. These are offered through the Ohio State University. Really gives farmers and partners of ag a hands-on understanding about the scientific processes that go into both managing nutrients that might run off into the lake ultimately, and also how things are measured. There's a lecture and discussion session with top scientists who are studying the Lake Erie algal blooms, and we have also had ag retailers attend these events. Next slide, please. The Center for Excellence Field Days are another event sponsored primarily by the Lenawee County Conservation District. It's been going on for nearly 2 decades now. It's a great program. We get hundreds of farmers together on farm twice a year. There's educational presentations by ag retailers, and we have other partners of ag, and there's also some demonstration plots. They show how cover crops work, how different types of tilling practices work, and you can actually see how the crops are growing differently with different amounts of fertilizers or using different pesticides or, for instance, different varieties, genetic varieties of seed. Next slide, please. The role of ag retailers at the Center for Excellence Field Day is to really demonstrate these new technologies, and that eases the transition and also new purchases for farmers. It's great because you have questions that are asked and answered directly by the farmers and the retailer, and the farmers can talk to each other about their experiences with the new technology. Next slide, please. We've also just started this year a Farmers Advisory Committee. This is a farmer-led group. It communicates the benefits of conservation practices to the larger community, not just the farming community. It also assists in educating other producers about BMPs, promoting more conservation practice implementation, and ultimately the goal is to bring more farms into that meat verification for being environmentally friendly towards water quality. Right now we have over 30 farms actively participating in these quarterly meetings. Next slide, please. And we've found that flexibility is the best thing to get the most people involved. We have many different events offered each year. The participants in the advisory committee in particular can either meet in person, they can call in, they can write or email their thoughts or suggestions to us. That's really helped, trying to empower people in as many ways as possible. And we've also learned that highlighting positive stories in the media can encourage more farmers to implement those conservation practices. Next slide, please. Some of our future goals in the River Raisin watershed include improving communication between ag retailers and government staff, both of whom are working on nutrient management plans. We can make sure those nutrient management plan goals really align well. It'll make for a more effective implementation of those BMPs. And we're hoping to have our retailers included at our Farmers Advisory Committee meetings at least once a year to help make that connection between the conservation practices that we're discussing and talking about at the meetings and how they can go back and purchase the supplies to, say, implement a cover crop. Next slide. So just to wrap up, most of our ag retailers are engaged through partnerships, although we're a growing organization and hope to work directly one-on-one with them more in the future. We found flexibility and timing of events and modes of communication can offer many opportunities, and sharing information really produces the largest benefits to water quality. Next slide. This is just our contact information in case you'd like to get in touch for more information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carly. That was great. And we have now a few minutes for questions from the audience. Audience members, if you want to type in questions to the question pane or use the hand raise feature, you are more than welcome to. The first question I have here is for Carly. How did you go about organizing and engaging your Farmer Advisory Committee?
Our Farmer Advisory Committee has grown slowly but surely. One thing that really helped was putting out some press releases to newspapers, the Farm Bureau newsletter, some of the really popular soybean and corn ag retailer newsletters. We got a small press release in there, and that really helped to get the word out and engage more people. But a lot of it is word of mouth as well.
Great, thank you. And I have a hand raised. Let's see. Oh, here's another question. What are you doing to improve ag retailer and government agency communication?
I will say that is a fairly new goal of ours. I think just sitting down and kind of looking at the process behind writing those nutrient management plans and how they differ and how they're the same between ag retailers and the government agencies will help everybody to kind of work towards the same end goal and hopefully make that process a little bit more streamlined.
Great. And I do have a hand raised. I'm going to unmute one of our audience members, Becky. So, Becky, if you have a question, I will unmute you now. Oh, looks like she put her hand down. Becky, did you have a question? Yes. How can we best get the 20% of farms that are result in 80% of impacts on board with conservation practices? I believe that's for Tom or Mark.
Well, this is Tom. Pete Nowak at University of Wisconsin is somebody whose presentations and writings we've tried to pay attention to there. And of course, one of the biggest issues is just identifying those farmers, and ag retailers have relationships with everybody in the watershed, and certainly they can help identify farmers, but it's a tricky situation for them in terms of having that conversation with the farmer directly or turning that farmer's name over to someone else because they've got a business relationship with that farmer that they don't want to threaten. So one of the ideas that we're pursuing is using the latest technology like Google Earth to look at farmland and try to identify some of those situations and then follow up with those individual landowners. We had one example where working with Heidelberg, we mapped the Sandusky by risk of phosphorus loss, and then we just did a road trip and visited some of those sites and identified one of them that had severe stream bank caving in. So really bad erosion and nutrient loss, of course, into a stream. And Mark went and made the contact with that landowner. The individual was a non-operator. They weren't aware that they had that issue and are pursuing solutions. So that's one approach. But if you look up Pete Nowak and read some of his work, he talks about identifying some of those farmers and having one-on-one conversations with them to figure out what it is that they need to make a change. And some of those success stories are really illuminating, I think.
Thanks, Tom. And just one more quick question for Carley. Do you have any tips on successfully evaluating your use of media to contact growers? Because we've actually used a lot of media circulation, but we're not actually able to evaluate the impacts that it's having on behavior.
Yeah, that's kind of difficult to answer. I'm not really sure the best way to do that, other than we've heard from farmers that they saw a story, they contacted a friend who was a farmer who had this great example of implementing BMPs and helping to conserve water quality and kind of learned from each other. So it's a little bit informal in some ways. We haven't done any formal evaluations or surveys on that end.
Great. Okay, and if anyone comes up with any additional questions as we go through the presentations here, we'll have more time after Cindy's presentation and after Logan's presentation at the end. But for now, we need to move on. Next, we have Cindy Brookes, the Sandusky River Watershed Program Coordinator. So Cindy, I will unmute your audio and you can take it away. Cindy, are you there?
Are you getting me now?
Now I can hear you.
Hello?
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Great.
Well, good morning and welcome to everybody. I'm glad to have you attend. The Sandusky River Watershed is much like the River Raisin. We are 80% agriculture. So if you'll advance the slide, I'll begin telling our story. I'm going to give you a little bit more background about our organization. Over the years, we were established actually in 1997 through the work of the National Center for Water Quality, Dr. David Baker. And from there, WSOS Community Action Commission came to the table as a partner and has administered my position as watershed specialist or watershed coordinator since that time, and began in 1999 with grant programs that funded the position. So since 1999, we've had 3 different grant programs that we've participated in. The longest running and probably the one of namesake is the Ohio Department of Natural Resource Watershed Coordinator Grant that ran from 2000 to 2009. At that point, the state of Ohio was looking at a difficult financial situation. We knew there were going to be drastic state cuts, questioned whether the grant was going to be offered again, and at that point recognized, because since 2006 when I had started, we had been discussing dissolved nutrients, but specifically the dissolved reactive phosphorus issue within our watershed in Lake Erie, even though Lake Erie was not a huge attention getter at that point. We had already started conversations. So we devised a fundraising program that involved ag retailers, and I'm not going to get into that today. If you'd like more information on that, you can contact me at another time. But at that time, we recognized that being 80% agriculture, and if you'll advance the slide, please, we realized that grant funding was, one, discouraging some of our partnerships. It also didn't really advance us or push us to engage some of those partnerships because there wasn't that drive, and that was where our ag retailers became part of the drive. We needed them to understand the issues, and then it also opened up an opportunity that they could be part of our funding and may want to become part of that and be part of the solution rather than just seen as someone contributing, an industry that's contributing. It's not just what you want for your business. So, and the grant funding also dictated our time and focus, where we were focused at for sub-watersheds because of the state's emphasis on watershed action planning. While that's not a bad thing, it did limit us from, since we are a larger watershed. It also meant that we became much more self-sufficient. We have people now that feel part of the program because we are open and working anywhere in the watershed because we realize everyone contributes. We've improved participation from some of our partners that had been at the table but hadn't been heavily involved because they felt that they were being kind of restricted as well. As you can understand, if they didn't have land in that sub-watershed where the watershed action planning was in place, they felt left out and maybe a little less important. So that improved that tremendously, and then we brought in a lot of new partnerships. And if you'll advance the slide, I will share. Around many of our tables, we have added not just ag retailers, but and continued conversations with them, but also the certified crop advisors at the same time. We have several independent certified crop advisors that we continue conversations with all the time. They're invited to meetings and other committee work as well. We continue to have our soil and waters. We have Farm Bureau representations. We now have municipalities back at the table. Ag retailers wanted to see more cooperation and coordination there. So we've pushed that, although it's very difficult to get some of them at the table because they're busy working on many of the mandates that the states put out as well. But in most cases where we've worked with our municipalities, we have brought them to the table that they see the benefit of working together with ag as well as and bringing the urban together. We continue to have academia at the table, with Heidelberg being in our watershed. Our health departments have always been involved. We have some residents. We've brought regional planning on board as well. They have come to the table, I think more so since the ag retailers have been at the table, because of the fact that they can connect and understand what's going on with agriculture, the field-based, the guys that are on the ground. And so it gives them a better vision of what's out there in their counties. We've also increased the farmer participation. With the ag retailers utilizing a lot of the information that we shared with them in the beginning about the issues. We have shared that all, and I'll provide a little bit more information in the following slides. And we've also brought in seed dealers, which are much like our ag retailers, that they're the ones, most of them are cover crop seed dealers, but they have come to the table and wanted to discuss. So it's been a full growth by bringing in and looking at things from a much broader perspective. But if you'll advance the slide, we'll talk a little bit about how we brought in our ag retailers. In the initial, we had one-on-one conversations with ag retailers throughout our watershed, invited them to participate in our committee work. So we did add. We do have one. We have had two in the past sit on our steering committee, and they've been there for the past 7 years. And then we also have included not just the management, but any of their on-the-ground guys. The boots on the ground are always wonderful to bring into committee meetings because they're the ones that are seeing what's happening. They're always invited, and some attend and participate in our land use and resource management committee, which is what directs where we want to focus our time and efforts with agriculture. And those committee meetings usually focus around nutrient management these days. So their participation in those meetings have been greatly appreciated and helped expand how we look at things and even how we've developed grants. Since we have the benefit of having those partnerships, and we have utilized the opportunities to present at their company meetings, whether it's for staff or for their growers. We're able to get the word out about the issues and some of the practices that are being found that be beneficial, answered questions on dispelling some of the myths that are out there. So ag retailers have helped tremendously in getting the word out and helping people understand better the issues that we are facing in this world and this time within the Western Lake Erie Basin. And so we have better understanding, and people, I think, are all working more efficiently to try and address the problems. And then, like I said, we had established a major donor program with them that we are continuing to work with. Next slide, please. Some of our benefits of what we've done, we have utilized some of the efforts. The first grant that we have listed was a combination effort of problems addressed in a watershed action plan, but also the opportunity and timing to reduce runoff and what that carries when it goes. It's not just sediment but nutrients. So we've utilized that grant to educate and promote and hopefully reduce a lot of runoff that would have added to the nutrient issue, because we've worked a lot with tillage practices as well as cover crops within this grant. One of our new practices in there was tile main replacements, and those are direct conduits to our lakes and streams, so nutrients and sediment both would have direct trail to the river and to the water, so we have reduced that through that effort. We always continue to do watershed education. A lot of it is through our ag retailers, through the grower meetings and such, as well as other meetings as well. We've worked with our ag retailers on numerous grants, and while quite a few of them haven't been funded in the last couple of years, with the focus on more of the western portion of the Western Basin, we continue to use this and a lot of times use it in other programming as well. The focus of how we can promote our ag retailers or the practices that they promote to benefit nutrient management. I've also worked with a municipality and working on a source water protection plan that was state endorsed, and we've utilized reporting from the ag retailer in that area to help them better understand utilization of nutrients within that source water protection area. So that's been a benefit as well. It's helped improve the communications between ag and urban. We've partnered with other organizations because of this. Once they've heard about us working with ag retailers, it's brought more partners to the table. And then because ag retailers want to know that there's other things going on, of course we continue our work outside and with other ag with home sewage repair. We've had 2 programs there that we've put a considerable amount of money with. Those are our main programs, but we continue to include our ag retailers in all of our committee work. And when it comes to grant development, we usually have some conversations with them is there something that can enhance this grant that would encourage them to utilize your services? Maybe not cost sharing directly for them to use a specific service that one retailer may have, but finding a service that will enhance the service of any ag retailer that's out there. So if we're going to, one of the examples is if we can pay for grid sampling, that the ag retailers have all agreed that that will open the door so that they can promote the use of variable rate application, or even talking with a producer about the proper form of fertilizer they may need based on the results. So it improves its soil testing, which is an issue out there. So those are some of the things that we've done. Next slide. I'm going to go through the next 2 pretty quickly. We always say it takes a whole watershed community to make a change, and our ag retailers have always agreed, and I think that's why they've come on board and continued conversations with us, because it does. It takes everybody to make that change. And then the next slide. And we all need to learn how to be a good neighbor. Once again, we used to have fence rows that dictated a lot of that. We don't have that now, so now we have to work together, and I think this is a good example. We usually use that in any presentation we do to show that we are trying to be good neighbors by working together and bringing everyone to the table. And I think my last slide has my contact information if you'd like to contact me for more information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. That was great. And this time we have a couple of minutes for questions from audience members. Please make use of the question pane to type in any questions that you might have. Let's see here. I do have a question. This is directed at Carley. Carley, do you have any feedback on feedback or surveys on how ag producer communities view the Michigan AEAP program, and is there any negative feedback on that program? I've unmuted you, so you should be able to speak.
I have to say I mostly hear good things about the MEAP program. At least from producers. Once people get a little more familiar with the process and how it actually works and what it actually does, farmers tend to jump on board with trying to get verified. It doesn't write citations, it doesn't cost anybody anything. It actually does some really important things outside of improving water quality. For instance, it can help a farm to write an emergency management plan in case there is ever a spill on a farm or a fire. Emergency responders will know where things are located and what to do and who to contact. It can also really help direct farmers towards funding to help institute some of those best management practices.
Great, thanks. Any additional questions for Cindy, Carley, or Tom? Please type them into the question pane and I will share them. All right, well, if there are no further questions from our audience, oh, one just came in. Let's see. Cindy, how many ag retailers are involved? Are they the same one or two, or do you have a variety of retailers involved in your program?
We have one active ag retailer that has sat on our steering committee, but when it comes to committee work and just discussions when we're devising a new program, we'll have multiple scale sizes. We have probably three very active participants that have continued to work with us and always at the table and willing to talk and discuss. And then we have probably another 3 smaller scale guys that they'll sit back a little bit more and wait to hear what the large scale operations are doing and then say, well, you know, we don't operate that way. So we try and take from all sides, and we do have to consider that since we have many different scale ag retailers within our watershed. So currently on our steering committee we have one company that's very active that way, because they were voted on and elected by the membership. But when it comes to the individual ag focus land use and resource management committee, we have several others.
Thanks, Cindy. And at this point, I think we can move on to our final few words from Logan Haake, the Precision Agronomy Manager at Legacy Farmers Cooperative. So at this point, I will unmute your audio, Logan, and you can take it away. Looks like you're still self-muted. There you go.
Okay, there we go. First off, I want to thank you guys for having me on. And letting seeing it from the retailer perspective here. We got involved several years ago with the Ohio CAP program, and that gave us a good opportunity as a retailer. Like Cindy was talking earlier, she's involving retailers to keep them up with what's going on. It got us involved with the program, given the opportunity with a set amount of acres to go out here to growers. The growers really communicate back and forth with us, want to know what's going on. But when we got those acres pinpointed towards us, we went out to acres that haven't been in a precision program or growers that haven't been in a precision program to show what opportunities are involved within that grid sampling, variable rate technology portion of things. So as we went through picking out these acres, they ranged through several different small watersheds. It all pinpointed back to the Maumee watershed. And as we started pulling samples and went through things, the growers realized what was going on out there, and we feel as a retailer we could pinpoint and analyze these acres in smaller portions and apply the fertilizer accordingly. So in the overall perspective, with getting that opportunity, we feel as Legacy here, the Custer area, and the southern branches, the phosphorus has come down application-wise. And that's a benefit two ways. It's a benefit both economically for the grower and also environmentally as we continue to look at this Lake Erie watershed issue. So I guess as things keep progressing, as a retailer, we want to stay at the forefront, looking at what programs are coming, what's going on at the soil and water offices, and continue to pass that forward to growers, because at the end of all this whole circle of what's going on is we got to keep the growers informed of what's going on, what's out there, what opportunities, and how can we better manage our soil and our fertility to grow the crops we want and yet not pollute our waters. So it's a good deal for the grower, for the retailer, and all right down the line. There was a few things when we first got introduced to the CAP. It was a very simple project. So it was mainly just grid soil sampling or zone sampling, and then making variable rate application from there. So it started out very simple, but as we continue to look forward or into the future, we got the cover crops, strip tilling, several different kinds of applications of getting below ground surface. So it's great to have the information what we want to do, so that we know to inform the farmer, because most of the time the farmer comes to the retailer first instead of going to his local soil and water office or whatnot. So that's some things that are great to stay ahead of the game. Then for our nutrient stewardship program, they talked earlier, I think Tom had said something about the little cards, wallet cards. Those have been going out everywhere. So the growers are aware, and I think they're willing to participate. It's just how to get their information to them and what programs are available to help them out. I guess that's just a little short stint of what's gone on here. Any kind of questions or anything that anybody wants me to discuss and directly, direct topics, I'd be more than willing to answer some questions on that.
Sure. It looks like, Logan, there's a question for you. Is there anything new that you offer to your growers to help them regain some of the revenue that you've lost in your phosphorus sales?
We've looked at some, we've done some, well, we're still, for application-wise, on some of the phosphorus, if we reduced it, we're looking at other ways of applying phosphorus too, other than just on top. So the strip tilling portion or minimal below ground application. But we've also looked at, we start looking at the micro side of the business. Our fertility levels are good, our pHs are good. What's the next step? Where can we move some of that money to continue to progress the farm and grab them extra bushels? Because in the grower's mind, it's still about the bushels. So we've looked at tissue sampling, foliar, V5, corn, for instance, applications, or just the micros going out and starters, broadcast. We've looked at the gypsum side of things also. So there's several different pieces out there that we can look at to move forward. Even though our phosphorus is down, which is what we want for environmentally, and a lot of the soils were already built up to levels that are exceeded maximum. So we've just shifted things and moved the dollars in another area of the farm to improve their farm.
Great. And have you considered maybe less soluble forms of phosphorus fertilizers that you could apply on cropland?
Yeah, we've also looked at some different additives to reduce the rate of phosphorus to make it more available to the plant. So you can have lower applications of it, so the plant uptake is quicker. Also, cover crops really big into the cover crop portion right now. Some of that is just farmers getting involved, want to do improve soil structure, but the drive of different programs and these farmers getting to play with these cover crops a little bit and not all the expense on themselves has pushed them forward. So even if there isn't a program, guys are still doing it, and that allows a growing crop there when these applications are made, or an application tilled and then cover crop coming in right behind it. So there's growers see the issue, so they're really going after what can we do to make a difference. And the cover crop portion might not be on every acre, but it's more acres than we've ever had before. So it's continuing to increase. Right now at our company, or one location for sure, is like 80% variable rate. Okay, what's the next step? It's going on to cover crops. They're continuing to add different pieces to the puzzle to help on this phosphorus.
And have you had any issues with cover crop seed supplies this year?
This year hasn't been too bad. We took an early order. Rye or radishes has usually been our issue, where we start to run short. And it's a tough ball game as a retailer to play, because the early orders got to be coming back several months before the application even goes on. And depending on weather, you don't know if you're going to get all that applied or not. So it's a game you keep juggling back and forth of how much do you get. So you have the supply, and then you don't want to run out. It's a tough game, but more and more growers are actually growing their own rye seed right now. So that's they're going to have it on farm, ready to go.
And just thinking back to our audience members here, Watershed organizations, do you have any suggestions for how our audience members could help their local ag retailer outlets to help them improve their nutrient management? What kinds of resources or programs could they offer that ag retailers would benefit from?
Just looking back over the years of working through this, is a good start is, looking at the variable rate side of things is a very good start to the program. So reaching out, getting opportunities of grid sampling, that can be third party, that can be direct them doing it themselves. That'd be the start of where they need to be, and that gives you the base, knows where you're at fertility wise. Then where can we move on next? And I mean, soil and water offices, the tillage conferences, there's so much information there and contacts available to reach out to people to help get started on these programs. I mean, we feel like we're being as proactive as possible, and we're still continuing to try to stay ahead of this thing. It's moving at a rapid pace, so any kind of information or source, I mean, I'm even available as a source of how to get the ball rolling, to get proactive and try to jump ahead of this. It's kind of a struggle, even being in it, how to stay ahead of it. So.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our presenters today and to our audience members. You have some great questions. At this time, we need to wrap it up, but I will tell you that we will have a recording of this webinar available on our website. And we will also, after you close out of this webinar, you're going to be greeted with a really brief survey. So we really appreciate your feedback on that survey. And any additional questions, you can send them to me or to my colleague Mark Adelsberger or to Tom Green. We're really happy to hear your thoughts on this webinar or our programs in general and any questions you might have. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a good day.